KWT slaying.
What if the truth was never lost, only buried? For centuries, historians, scholars, and even colonial records have confirmed what many tried to silence. The original Israelites were a black people scattered across continents but never erased. Their skin was dark, their customs ancient, and their covenant with Yah eternal. This journey uncovers how the Spanish and Portuguese Jews, described as dark-skinned, Semitic, shared one bloodline. Chased by the Inquisition, many fled to Portugal, then beyond, preserving their heritage across borders. But the story doesn't end in Iberia. Across from West Africa, black Jews built synagogues, kept Torah, and passed down the laws of Moses. The Limba in southern Africa, the Igbo in Nigeria, the Beta Israel in Ethiopia, tribes across the continent boldly declared, "We are the children of Israel." These aren't isolated claims. These are voices rising from the dust, connected by oral histories, Torah traditions, and the unbroken rhythm of their identity. No such legacy exists among European Jews. No centuries of tribal witness, no matching traditions, no trace of ancient covenant keeping. Maps, art, and archaeology tell the same story. The Israelites were scattered, enslaved, and displaced, but never lost. The world always knew who they were. Their presence was visible, their customs alive, their story intact. This book doesn't speculate. It confirms the Israelites were black, bound by blood, culture, and covenant to the Most High. This is not just history, it's restoration. The truth was never destroyed, only buried beneath centuries of deception. Get your copy of They Always Knew We Were Israelites today, available now on Amazon.com.
Salama family, Salama, how y'all doing today? Hope you're blessed and highly favored. It's sort of funny recently. I look like I've been getting people mad at me. I'm like, I've been sort of nice lately though, except for that last show. But I got people throwing shots indirectly. But it's interesting because I'm like, I notice when people start listening, they get upset. That's what happens when people start listening. And they're going to really get upset with what I'm working on. I got something I'm working on. I'm going to shake up everybody. I'm going to shake up the Christians. I'm going to shake up the Israelites, everybody. I guarantee you I'm going to get some heat with what I'm working on. I'm going to get some gaslighting, all of that. I guarantee you. But y'all know what I'm working on going to be tight, right? I'm going to have all my ducks in a row and all of that. They'll come up with the gaslighting, the half-truths, the straight-up lies and stuff like that, the accusations, but I'm going to do what I do, right? I'm going to make it do what it do, baby, right? I'm going to shake this thing up, boy. But anyway, so we got some things going on, and this stuff is it's moving pretty fast. Can't even really keep up with it. It's moving so fast, right? Um, so we're going to talk about some current events. Um, and, as you can see from the title, it says the counterfeit countdown, exposing end time deception. So there's a straight up end time deception going on, has been for a long time anyway. But, this whole dialectic that's being played out, Christians got their interpretation of events, Israelites got theirs, right? They throw that whole Gaza situation in like it's prophetic. And but not saying these things aren't prophetic, but not the way most people are saying, right? So let's look at some of this stuff. We're gonna discuss. I hope it don't be too long. Shouldn't be, but we'll see. I always say that. All right. So Trump declares end of Israel-Hamas war, but experts see the hard work is just beginning. The skies are calm, the guns are silent, the sirens are still, Trump said. While President Trump has declared the Israel-Hamas war over, some Middle East experts say the process to end the 2-year conflict is just beginning. Monday's historic release of the remaining living Israeli hostages in Gaza and the simultaneous release of more than 1,900 Palestinian prisoners that have been held by Israel is just part of the first step of Trump's 20-point plan to bring peace to the region. After so many years of unceasing war and endless danger, today the skies are calm, the guns are silent, the sirens are still, the sun rises on a holy land. That's not a holy land. That is finally at peace, a land and a region that will live. God willing, in peace for all eternity, Trump said in a speech on Monday to the Israeli parliament. Trump added, this is not only the end of a war, this is the end of an age of terror and death. How many of y'all believe that? And the beginning of the age of faith and hope and of God. It's the start of a grand concord of lasting harmony for Israel and all nations of what will soon be a magnificent region. While Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has been hesitant to publicly say the war with Hamas is over, which is not. He said during a speech that preceded Trump's address that he is committed to this peace. Mr. President, today we welcome you here to thank you for your pivotal leadership in putting forward a proposal that got the backing of almost the entire world, a proposal that brings all our hostages home, a proposal that ends the war by achieving all objectives, a proposal that opens the door to a historic expansion of peace in our region and beyond our region, Netanyahu said. Mr. President, you are committed to this peace. I'm committed to this peace. Oh, really? And together, Mr. President, we will achieve this peace, the Prime Minister said. How many people believe that? Following his visit to Israel, Trump flew to Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt for a peace summit. He co-chaired with Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, and where the official signing ceremony of his ceasefire proposal occurred Monday afternoon. Opening the summit, el-Sisi praised Trump for brokering a peace deal that is beneficial to the entire region. He invited Trump to join the peace lovers leaders who advocate for peace in the world. At this historic milestone, where we are all together and witness the reaching of this Sharm el-Sheikh agreement on ending the war in Gaza, el-Sisi said. He went on to call the agreement a glimpse of hope that such a deal ends an agonizing chapter in the history of mankind and opened the door, ushering in a new era of peace and stability in the Middle East. Experts said that despite the historic initial phases of the peace proposal being executed, the meeting in Egypt, which included more than 20 world leaders, is where difficult next steps begin. Michael Ratney, the former U.S. ambassador to Saudi Arabia under the Biden administration, said that while it's hard not to get caught up in the emotion of celebrations over the hostage and prisoner releases, there's a long way to go before peace is achieved. I like to say it was peace. It's not peace yet, Ratney told ABC News on Monday. There's a lot of work, and that includes many of the measures that are on the 20-point plan that the White House released. Sources familiar with the negotiations told ABC News that agreements still need to be reached on some of the most difficult points of the plan. These include the total withdrawal of Israeli forces from the Gaza Strip, Hamas ceding control of Gaza, disarming and decommissioning the militant group, and turning Gaza's governance over to an international trusteeship overseen by U.S. and Arab allies. Now, I mentioned to you all a few years ago that this was the plan, is to make Jerusalem an international city. Give me a one if you remember that the plan was to make Jerusalem an international city. I don't know if it's an obstacle, but certainly a challenge. And one of them right now is going to be the process under which Hamas is demilitarized and demobilized as a terrorist organization or as a militant organization. Javeed Ali, a former senior director for counterterrorism at the National Security Council, told ABC News on Monday. While flying to the Middle East overnight, Trump implied to reporters on Air Force One that Hamas has been given the green light to act as a Palestinian police force in Gaza for a period of time. They're standing because they do not want to stop problems, and they've been open about it, and we gave them approval for a period of time. Watch. I guarantee you that the people in the Middle East ain't going to allow that. They're going to be like, pew, pew here and pew, pew there, everywhere, pew, pew there, pew, pew. Watch. They will not let Hamas get a secure footing back in Gaza. He added, you have to understand they've lost probably 60,000 people. That's a lot of retribution. They've lost 60,000 people, and the ones that are living right now were in many cases very young when this all started. And we're having a watch that there's not going to be big crime, but there's no food, no water, no infrastructure. How is there not going to be crime? Are some of the problems that you have when you have areas like this that have been literally demolished. Ali said it's going to take a great deal of time before Hamas lays down its weapons as required in Trump's proposal. All right, so I'm not going to read the rest. Y'all can read the rest, but we see that there's this peace deal. Now, let me show you this.
This took 3,000 years to get to this point. Can you believe it? And it's going to hold up, too.
So the question is this prophecy coming to pass? I say no. Not in the sense that what they're saying, right? Because what they want us to believe is that Daniel 9:27 is what they want us to believe. He shall confirm a covenant with many for 1 week. That's what they want. They're building this false prophecy based upon a false interpretation of the text. Daniel 9:27, as y'all know, according to Ministries, and we know we're right on it, has nothing to do with the Antichrist. But that's what Eurocentric Christianity has taught over the years, that Daniel 9:27 had to do with him confirming a covenant. Now, this also could end up having to do with, and they shall say peace and safety and sudden destruction coming upon them, a travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape, which is possible. Right, because based upon the signs of the times and the things that we're seeing happening, right, prophetically, with Trump allowing Tomahawk missiles to go to Ukraine so Russia could get hit, right? We know this whole thing in the Middle East probably won't last a week, and it's going to heat up, and we're going to end up with that Middle East war. And then, as I mentioned before, it's going to be that 2nd Ezra 15 and 2nd Ezra 16 that's going to end up happening, which ties back to Jeremiah 50:51, which is the kingdom of the north and their allies coming to Babylon. So that's what's really being set up. But what they're pretending is happening is the Daniel 9:27, right? He shall confirm the covenant. And they're going to make sure to set up, theoretically, we'll see what happens, but that sacrifice, right, in the temple, right? All the Christians waiting for the Antichrist to set up in the temple, right? So they got to rebuild a temple. That's what they're thinking. So everybody talking about they're gonna do something to the Al-Aqsa Mosque and stuff like that, right? That's always been the Christian interpretation of end time prophecy, right? Which is incorrect. It is incorrect. That's not end time prophecy. That's made up Christian doctrine. But as you see, they say Bible prophecy is unfolding. Well, not the way that they want. All right. It's not happening the way that they want us to believe.
Commentary on the book of Obadiah, I've already spoke to you about Yemen. Now remember that Yemen we didn't know anything about Yemen before October the 7th, and all of a sudden out of nowhere the Houthis have been raised up. Could it be that this is part of prophecy? Today I want to show you some things that will stun you and will shock you, straight from the prophet Obadiah. And how is it connected to the United States, to Iran, and ultimately for the coming of the Mashiach? Please pay attention. The prophet Obadiah in chapter 1 verse 9 says the following. Listen carefully. He says, "Then you mighty men, O Yemen, you will be shattered so that everyone will be cut off from the hill country of Esav to the slaughter." You see, there is always a connection between Yemen and Esav and Edom, and we have to understand this connection. The Hebrew word that is used here in the text, in the context of Yemen, is the word for mighty men, this mighty man. And what is the word in the Hebrew Bible to the mighty one? The rabbis tell us is the word is Hutu. The word in Hebrew Hutu is derived from the word Hutim. The Hutim of Yemen are encoded in the Hebrew Bible. Everybody have to understand that the Hutim and the fact that they are connecting to Esav and the final judgment that is coming to Esav is coded in Obadiah chapter 1 verse 9. And you need to know why it is connected for the coming of the Messiah. It's important that you follow with to the word of Isaiah chapter 63 when it's saying the following, which should tell you where we're heading to. It says in Isaiah 63, who is coming from Edom? He is crimson in garment from Batsera. This is the...
So you're gonna have to pay attention to what he's saying, because he's misinterpreting the scriptures, right? Because who's coming from Basra with his vesture dipped in blood, which is tied to the book of Revelation, which is tied to Armageddon, which is tied to Ezekiel 38. So his timing is incorrect. So once again, you're going to see that he's creating a prophecy that doesn't exist.
The one who's splendid in his apparel, pressing toward in his great might. He said, who is the one who's coming from Edom and is coming after the retribution of Batsera? It is the Messiah. Listen to this. This is very important. Who is the one who's coming from Edom?
Now he's supposed to be messianic. He's supposed to be messianic. But listen to what he said.
Messiah is going to be born out of Edom after the battle of Batsera. Batsera is the...
Messiah is going to be born out of Basra. That's what he said. He's supposed to be messianic now.
The battle of Yemen, which is the battle of the Houthim. Are you following what I am telling you today?
The best way to learn how to trade is to follow somebody who's already proficient at doing it. And who better to follow than Wall Street?
Brothers and sisters, Israel tonight announced that they're going to go to a massive attack against Yemen, against the Houthim, where Obadiah 1:9 tell us that they will be cut off. And the same battle in Amos 1:12 tell us that it will be caught fire.
First of all, that's not even the land of the Edomites, but hey, I digress. Some of y'all believe it, some of y'all don't, but hey, let's continue.
Friend, Yemen annihilation of the Houthim is imminent before us. And what is going to be the next step? The next step is going to be the birthing of the Messiah from Edom. Isaiah 63, Amos 1:12, and also Obadiah 1:9 is what's before us. Listen to what the rabbis of old tell us in Rabbi Eliezer, Psikata, the Rabbi Eliezer. It says the following: 3 wars of trouble will be taking place with the sons of Israel in the future wage on the earth in the latter days. It is says, for they have fled from the swords. Sword signified only wars. One in the forest of Arabia. Where is Yemen? Around Arabia, as it says, from the drawn sword. And
there's no forest in Arabia, but hey, I digress.
another war will take place in the sea from the bent bow, and then it's going to lead to the final war. The forward that will launch from Batsera will be the war between Ishmael and between Edom, which will be more grievous than the 2 other wars as it is.
All right, so take note. Rome is Edom, which is true. And the war is between Islam and Edom, according to him, which is, according to their theology, is a war between Catholicism or Christianity and Islam, right? So, once again, this is a counterfeit countdown. This is a manufactured prophecy that he's talking about.
Say, from the grievous of this war. And what will be the result? From there, the son of David will flourish, and he will see the destruction of both kingdoms. Brothers and sisters, I am going to give you the sequence of events that is going to take place so that you will be wise and will understand what is before us. Israel will go to war against Batsera. Not just Israel, but Edom itself is going to go to war against Batsera. Where is that? That is already telling us it is in Yemen against the group that is called the Houthim, as the Bible is telling us. Incredible. And what will birth out of this? A final war will be birthed out of this, which is the war between Edom and between Ishmael.
This is the false eschatology that Christianity has been pushing for the last, probably 50 years.
Where we are heading to right now, and what we're seeing is the birth pangs that will lead to the worst of all wars. So when it says here in the Bible, who are the nation who will going to be fighting among themselves, you must understand it. But the war of all wars is between Rome and Ishmael. Ishmael have another name in rabbinical literature. It is called Persia. It is called Paras. And here is what you must know. Persia have another name. Persia is known in rabbinical literature as the bear. Who is the bear? The bear represents Russia. Persia and Russia is one in the same. We are just received a sign that Israel and another nation.
He just said Persia and Russia the same. No, they're not. But anyway, let's continue.
That is called Edom is going to get into a battle against Yemen, as Obadiah 1:9 saying, that will ultimately lead us to the final war. Now take a breath.
Now notice he's talking about Armageddon. He says it's going to lead to the final war. So this is a fake, Ezekiel 38 fake Armageddon scenarios that they're playing. Why? Because out of this chaos, they're going to bring out the new world order, and they're going to bring out a fake Messiah, probably from where? Basra.
And know what is coming before us. It says the following. Rabbi Joshua, son of Levi, said, Rome is destined to fall into the hand of Persia. What? Edom is going to fall to Persia. There are only two nations today that are fighting against each other, and it is the United States of America in Iran. Do not believe to any.
I'm not going to argue that, because personally, I believe that America is Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots, so she is going to fall. And I do believe, according to Jeremiah 50:51, that the kings of the north, which I believe Russia and China, are going to invade along with Persia, right, and attack. So that part I agree with.
Thing that says that there will be a peace agreement or some sort of agreement between United States to Iran.
All right, see, now they're tying it to Gog and Magog, which is the end time Armageddon, right? The U.S. versus Persia, right? Ishmael, right? This is incorrect. This is made up eschatology, but this is what they're doing, right? They're redefining the prophecy, just like they've done in the past, right? Just like they've done with all the scriptures, hey, the law is done away with, all that kind of stuff, right? They're just redefining stuff. And the ignorant is going to believe this, right? The ignorant Christians who don't study their Bibles, right? The ignorant Israelites who don't go through and study their Bible, they just listen to mores, don't study for themselves. They're going to fall for this stuff, right? Just like a lot of people fall for a lot of lies.
It is not going to happen, because that, friends, is the battle of all battles that is coming. And here the rabbi said that there is a strong possibility that Edom will lose to Persia. Are you following what I am telling you? There's only two possibilities. We know who is Persia. Who is in conflict with Persia today? In Persia today, the conflict is with the United States. United States is...
Okay, so remember, Rome has, according to them, right, Rev 2939, Rome is synonymous with Edom, which I agree with, and Rome is synonymous with Catholicism or Christianity, which I also agree with, but not just Christianity. And then you have, Ishmael. Now, he says that Persia is Ishmael, right? I don't agree with that at all. I do not agree with Persia being Israel at all. I mean, Ishmael, right? So
Edom. United States is Edom. United States is Edom. But the rabbi...
Why? Because it's going to be the United States, it's going to be the Western powers, it's going to be Christianity against Islam, right? Take note of that. Keep that in your head. But it's not only going to be against, Christianity against Islam, but it's going to be the Christianity against the infidels, right? It's going to be Christianity against the infidels. All right, so let's continue.
Disagree and say there is another possibility that Persia is destined to fall to the hand of Edom. Friends, there is a possibility that Iran will fall to Edom, and from that will be the birthing of the Messiah. Either way, the final conflict that is coming before...
So he's supposed to be messianic. What does this talk about the birthing of the Messiah? What is that? What is this birthing of a Messiah? That means, what, he's coming out of Basra, right? From what he's saying, right? Vesture dipped in blood, the birthing of a Messiah out of the land. What did the Messiah say? If they say, oh, he's in the desert, he in the secret chambers, he's over here, don't believe him, because as the light shineth unto the west, so shall the coming of the Son of Man be. They're setting you up. And this, to me, is so clear, right?
Is between United States and Persia. And here, because we are entering into the final chapter right now before our own eyes, and in this final battle, it's going to be Edom and Persia who are going to be fighting against each other. And Edom is the United States without a doubt. And Edom is the United States without a doubt. And Persia, who is also called the bear, is going to be the one that is going to have an alliance of Russia and Iran, who is going to fight one another. And the
according to Jeremiah 50:51, it's the kingdom of the north along with their allies, not Persia and her allies, right? But Persia is part of the allies of the kingdom of the north. But I digress.
talking parties, the rabbi says that there is a possibility that Persia will defeat United States.
If you live in a Texas zip code and have 0 DUIs in the last 5 years.
All right, so we're going to move on from that, right? Let me show you how we being set up for the okie doke. False prophecies. Hold on, let me refresh this. What the heck? Hold on. Let me log in here. All right, so let's look at how this is going to play out. Set up for the okie doke.
I woke up this morning to a bunch of DMs, people saying, Marcus, you got to check this out. Remember when you said this? And when I looked at what
I think this guy is an agent, just my opinion, but listen to what he said. Christian bullcrap.
They were showing me there are these billboards all over Israel hailing Trump as the modern day King Cyrus. And so for those of you who have been following me since Facebook, since I was in the army, 10 years ago, I gave a prophecy that Trump was a modern day King Cyrus. And while I was in the army, I used to go on these prayer walks, and I walked up the mountain one day and I felt the Lord just tell me that Trump was going to win and he was going to win 2 terms. And as I'm sitting there like, oh, wow, how's that going to happen? Because he's a celebrity. He comes from, reality TV. It didn't really make sense to me. And I opened up my Bible and it fell on Isaiah 45. And many of you remember this story. And it talked about King Cyrus. And so 45th president, Isaiah 45. And then I went to Daniel and it talked about how
Isaiah 45 and the 45th president. Y'all see how they interpret doctrine, right? How they interpret the scriptures. I'm just saying, but this is what we got to deal with. But they so arrogant, they so hardy, they think they know everything, and they don't want to listen to anybody. But hey, they're gonna be deceived. That's just all that's gonna happen.
God raises up kings and he tears them down and he shifts the seasons. And the Lord spoke to me, if you build it in this season, I'm going to bless it. So check out these clips. What was that? 15, I was in Korea. I believe that Trump's going to win 2 times. That Trump's going to win 2 times. Going to win 2 times. I don't care what the media is talking about. The Lord told me that this was a season for America to repent. He told me that this was a season just like with King Cyrus for us to build. Next election is going to really rock America, and we are one event away. We are so close to just chaos and civil war. President Trump, we all know, your past has been there for the world to see. It's allowed you to be in office at this time. It's not anything but God that you are where you are, because God is the one that raises and tears down kings. And this is what the Lord told me to tell you. Thus saith the Lord to his anointed, Isaiah 45, to Cyrus, whose right hand have I holden to subdue nations. And so listen, it's not about me. It's not about me saying, oh man, look, I was right. As you guys seen, many of the prophetic words God has given.
He was not right. And Trump is not the Cyrus. If Trump was to be a Cyrus, it would be the Negroes. It would be the Ezra Alawi. It would be the Yasharal, the descendants of slaves, the ones that scattered that would be getting sent back home. But they're not. This dude is I'm just going to continue.
I've had to learn this over time, have taken 5-6 years to come past, Diddy, Maverick City, the Trump 2 terms, I thought it was going to be back to back. But regardless, listen, it's not about Trump. It's not about me. It's the last trumpet. God is speaking to his church. And I believe that we have 3 years to finish building, to prepare for what's coming. Look at what's happening in the UK. We've been warning about this for over a decade, how persecution is going to come through legislation. Daniel in the lion's den, the 3 Hebrew boys getting thrown in the fire, Esther, Haman, Mordecai. We've used those examples that the war will not be with the gun on Christianity. It will be with a pen. And so we see what is happening. People getting arrested for street preaching, people getting arrested for tweeting against Hamas. I'm telling you right now, casual Christians will be casualties. I've been saying that for over 10 years. God is giving us warnings. People don't want to listen. People don't want to hear. I call Trump the last trumpet. God is sounding the alarm, church. If you don't get nothing else from this video, I don't want you to get, Marcus was right. I want you to get, you got to build. We got 3 years. It's a season of grace to build.
Marcus was wrong, but Marcus thinks he was right. So we have this dynamic happening, right? We have this world peace agreement, right? They do this like every few years, right? Some kind of major peace, they promote it. Why? Because they've been conditioning your mind for the fulfillment of Daniel 9:27. He shall confirm a covenant with many for 1 week, right? They're getting your mind ready for peace and security, right? They've been conditioning you that because that's what the whole Left Behind series talks about, right? So you got to understand that's the type of things that we see here. That it's Christianity and Islam. It's Rome and Islam. It's Edom and Islam, right? And so can we rephrase that, right? It's Christianity versus the Muslims, right? But then again, where's the Revelation 2:9 and 3:9 folks in this whole scenario, right? Because what's happening is, remember, according to Elber Pike, that they all going to fight to exhaustion so that they can bring in the light of Lucifer, right? Y'all remember that. We talked about it. So there's this conditioning, there's this right-wing MAGA movement, right, which represents Christianity, which is a political entity, right? It's a Christian political movement that is also antagonistic with the rest of the world. Now, watch this next video, and you're gonna maybe you'll see it, and I'll explain what I see in a second. So let's look at this particular video.
An individual committed a terrorist attack that attacked Jews because they are Jews, and attacked Britain because of our values. And while this is not a new hate, this is something Jews have always lived. We must be clear. It is a hatred that is rising once again. And Britain must defeat it once again.
Gary, is it an attack on Britain and our values?
Yes, it is. The Jews are simply the first. After they've got the Saturday people, they will go for the Sunday people.
After they get the Saturday people, they coming for the Sunday people. Listen to the propaganda that's being played, right? Can we say false? Can we wave a flag? Repeat after me. Can we say false? And can we wave a flag?
People. That's an old expression. And particularly militant Islamists, Islamic fundamentalists, their next target is the Christian community. We witnessed in Nigeria what really is a genocide, with fundamentalist Islamists murdering Christians. And
so now we have Christians and Islam. Rev 2939 and Islam. Zionist Christians and Zionists against Islam. But let's listen. I'm like, to me, let's continue. It's a bit too obvious for me.
That is what will happen in future once they feel they have dealt with the Jews. They're going to turn their attention to the Christians next. First the Saturday people, then the Sunday people.
Gary, you can see it across your face. It's completely understandable, the emotion that you're flooded with this evening. And can you just describe that to me? Is it a combination of just sadness, but also just anger and frustration?
You've summed it up exactly. It's tremendous frustration with government that we have seen a government that's allowed itself to do nothing, essentially. Keir Starmer's words are all very well, but what action has he taken? What action has the government ministers taken? That is why there's so much disappointment.
So basically what's going on is that the West has lost a massive source of income and resource in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, right? So now they are trying to find an excuse to get into these countries. And these three countries know that. So that's why they came out. So the argument here is that there's genocide in Nigeria from Muslims, right? So they're going to go and save the Nigerian Muslims. After they've wrecked Nigeria, they'll use that as a staging ground to go into Niger. From Niger, they go into Mali. From Mali, Burkina Faso. They want to take back these countries and the resources from the West. See, the thing about this, more Muslim Nigerians have been killed by Christians. But the narrative, again, if you know the narrative, you control the narrative, that's all that matters. So you have people like this one. This woman, you see what she says, right? This is her. She doesn't even live in Nigeria. See, this woman, when she's outside of Nigeria, no one looks at her and goes, are you Igbo? Are you Hausa? No, they call her a fucking nigger. But she, because of the mindset of Africans, she has generational hatred for a different group, a different tribe. And they are now calling for Israel to come in and destroy the Hausas, not understanding that this is a long-term goal to destroy 4 African nations. This is another one. It turns out this one is Ghanaian because his name is Kwesi. The Muslims, man, if they get their act together. Let me explain something. More Muslims have been killed by Christians, because when Muslims get killed, again, we live in this world. You see what's happening.
Is it hard to believe that more Muslims was killed by Christians? Not hard for me to believe. We see that every day.
Sudan, you see what's happening in Somalia, you see what's happening in Ethiopia, what you call it, Eritrea. No one's making the noise about this. So the point here is, these guys, these bandits don't have a religion. They don't care about religion. This is coming from a northerner, right? They will go there during Friday prayers or during prayer. They will pick an evening, a desolate town. They will go there while the people are praying, 200-300 people in the mosque. They will barricade the mosque and light it on fire. They will kill everyone in that town. In Nigeria, everyone goes mum. No one wants to talk, because Muslims, again, majority of Nigerian Muslims in Nigeria are uneducated. Western education, they know a lot about Islam, but they're not educated, so they're not as tech savvy. So they talk between themselves, but no one's on the internet making noise, right? But then when the same thing happens with, say, 50 Christians, the whole world is talking about it. More Nigerian Muslims have been killed by Christians, but the narrative that they've created is that there is a genocide. You saw what that guy said. He's trying to stoke anger. The last words he said, what is the prime minister doing about it? He's trying to stoke anger. Eventually, the white Christians in Britain will get angry enough. The white Christians in America will get angry enough. They'll push their leaders. We have to save the Nigerian Christians. So America and its people will come in. They'll turn Nigeria into Libya. Now, while the country is wrecked, they have access to our resources, and then they go into Niger, because that's right next door to Nigeria. They'll wreck Niger, get the uranium back, because right now, check this out, World Bank is banning Niger from selling its gold. So they're doing everything to squeeze these countries and create chaos and bomb them to back to whatever, and take control of our resources. But idiots like this and this, who have so much generational hatred for their own kind, will invite those people in to destroy 4 African nations.
So he's absolutely right. That's the plan, right? And we talk about the plan that they had with a false flag happening here, which would allow them to go and invade Africa. And this will probably be part of the scenario as well, which is we're going to save the Christians. Now, I know everyone, I'm gonna read this article that I wrote, but I know everyone hasn't read it, but it's important to what we're looking at and have been looking at with another inquisition. So let's look at this. NSPM 7, a new kind of inquisition. On October 25th, 2025, President Trump signed a government order called National Security Presidential Memorandum 7. Or NSPM 7, it says the United States must fight domestic terrorism and political violence. On paper, it sounds like it targets people who plan or carry out violent attacks. But the language in the order connects ideas and beliefs to terrorism, which could easily be used to go after people who simply disagree with the government. This appears to be the start of a new kind of inquisition where the government decides what beliefs are acceptable and punishes people who think differently. When and how it started. The order was signed on September 25th, 2025. It tells agencies like the Justice Department, Homeland Security, the IRS, Treasury to work together to find and punish people who they think are spreading political violence. It also says Antifa should be treated as a terrorist group. Lawyers and civil rights groups warn that this order could be used to investigate regular people, churches, or organizations that are peaceful but outspoken. The plan gives the government more power depending upon how far officials decide to take it. What the order says, NSPM 7 says political violence comes from groups that are anti-American, anti-capitalist, anti-Christian, and against traditional family and moral values. That means the government is linking beliefs and opinions to terrorism. It also allows investigators to look into who funds certain groups, who donates money, and who shares their ideas. Banks are told to watch for suspicious activity and report it. Nonprofits can lose their tax status if accused of helping extremism. So instead of just arresting violent criminals, the government can also target people or organizations because of their ideas. Why this can threaten Hebrew Israelites? The Hebrew Israelites could be targeted under this order because they often speak out against mainstream Christianity and the system that oppresses Black people. The order's use of anti-Christian and anti-American could be used against them, even if they are peaceful. Here's how that can happen. Their beliefs. Hebrew Israelites reject some Christian teachings and call for repentance and justice. This could be labeled anti-Christian, just like they say anti-Semitic, right? The two Zionists of the same coin. Their organizations, churches, or study groups could be investigated, have their funds frozen, or be audited by the IRS. Donations could be reported as suspicious. I mean, does it bring to mind CK and what happened after CK? Their speech, if they teach about injustice or prophecy that challenges America's power, it could be seen as radical. Their public image, once the media or government paints a group as dangerous, police and intelligence agencies can monitor them or infiltrate their communities. This pattern matches what has happened before in American history when Black groups spoke up against oppression. What history shows, the original Inquisition in Europe started by accusing people of heresy, meaning wrong belief. It later became a system of spying, torture, and punishment. People were arrested not for crimes, but for what they believed. Today, things work differently, but the idea is the same. Instead of burning people at the stake, governments can freeze bank accounts, block funding, or label people terrorists. NSPM 7 gives tools to do that through surveillance, financial tracking, and political pressure. What to watch out for? If small religious or community groups that start losing their nonprofit status or being called extremists, that's a warning sign. If banks or police start investigating people for their beliefs instead of crimes, it means this order is being abused. If peaceful teachers, preachers, or protesters are arrested under terrorism laws, the line between faith and crime is being erased. Hebrew Israelites and their faith groups should work with legal aid and civil rights organizations to protect their rights. They should document everything, stay peaceful, and speak clearly about what they believe so no one can twist their message. A modern Inquisition. The first Inquisition used fire and torture. This one could use technology, money, and law. It would not come with priests and crosses, but with algorithms, bank reports, and federal task forces. NSPM 7 may be presented as a fight against terrorism, but its wording allows it to become a fight against thought itself. When beliefs become crimes, history is repeating itself, and this time it could start with the Hebrew Israelites. So everything seems to be moving towards an inquisition, right? Or inquisition-like takedown. So let's look at this particular video.
Care about the Democrats possibly losing 19 seats in Congress at the midterms, then you're going to care about the Supreme Court's oral argument today at 10 a.m. here. We're going to be live streaming it here on Substack and on the YouTube channel. Because in this case called Calais, involving Louisiana's maps, it goes well beyond that. Here is the existential question that's up for grabs today at the oral argument that I'm going to be listening for. Is the Supreme Court, particularly Kavanaugh and Roberts, going to vote to completely gut and destroy, take out in the back and shoot the Voting Rights Act, Section 2, which is the crown jewel of the civil rights protection signed into law by Lyndon Johnson? And are they going to find that the fact that Louisiana and its own legislature drew a map to add one more black district to make it 2 out of 7 instead of 1 out of 7 was race-based in violation of the 14th Amendment and equal protection and violation of the Voting Rights Act? Or are they going to go further? Are they going to rule that the Voting Rights Act itself violates the 14th and 15th Amendment, which is where Clarence Thomas wants to take us? Why does this case turn on Kavanaugh? Because of a 2023 case about Shelby County, Alabama, and something he ruled there, and where he joined the liberals and the moderates. I'm glad you joined me. You're here on Midas Touch and on Legal AF. Take a minute, hit the Legal AF YouTube channel. This hearing is momentous. It's the second time the Supreme Court has heard this set of facts and about this map.
Troops in our cities, masked federal agents all over the place, political.
Now, several months ago, the Supreme Court gave us a little bit of hope because they blocked the court's order, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals order, which would have taken the map away, not allowed it to be used because it was too race-based. Louisiana is 33% black. The fact they only had 1 out of 7 districts is an abomination. Now, if Kavanaugh and Roberts, who once in 2023, as recently as 2023, sided with the moderates in the liberal wing of the Supreme Court and found that adding an additional district in Alabama did not violate the Voting Rights Act or the constitutional amendments, if they apply that same logic to the Louisiana map where Mike Johnson is pushing hard and has flip-flopped and the legislature has flip-flopped and now said, no, now we think the map adding another district is actually race-based and violent.
So in my another Inquisition video, I talked about the King Alfred plan, right? And it talked about getting us what? Removed from what? Positions of power. Getting us removed from what? Congress, right? So it just so happens, I mean, things seems to be moving pretty fast.
Of this United States Supreme Court's teaching about race and the Constitution. So everybody's flip-flopped. 12 non-African American plaintiffs, no shit, have sued here, claiming that their voting rights have been diluted because they lost 1 out of 7 districts. What disgusting pigs. Disgusting, disgusting pigs. Now, why does it come down to Kavanaugh? And why is this oral argument going to tell me everything I need to know in about 2 hours? Clarence Thomas has been trying to knock down and kill and chloroform the Voting Rights Act since he got on the bench. They already gutted Section 1. Section 2 is is the thing that keeps the southern states, primarily the red MAGA states, as honest as we can imagine, and makes them not redistrict out of existence all black districts. Because if they had their way through gerrymandering in politics, they would just eliminate all black and brown minority districts or majority districts. That's where my headline came from. We, the Democrats, the moderates, could lose 19 seats if Republicans are given the green light off of this decision to redo all of their maps off the next census without regard to race and just draw maps that are politically focused to eliminate black and brown representation. You think?
So like I said, isn't that what I talked about, right? Just at the previous video about what they were trying to do. And now we see that's exactly what they're trying to do is remove us from Congress, right? Remove our ability to vote in our own representatives. So, you know, to me, it's just a modern form of the Inquisition. Now, some people were sort of concerned with the idea that, we're gonna have to deal with all of this, but we don't know how it's gonna play out because the Bible says as soon as Israel travailed, she was delivered, right? So we're gonna have to feel the heat, but we might not get burned, right? So, where was I? Okay. All right, so we got this here. This is posted at Tail. It says MAGA passed the calls for executing rebellious black men, citing Old Testament. So once again, we see the Christians, MAGA, right-wing Christians, right, talking about deleting black folks, right? Y'all think it's all a coincidence? You know, I know people be telling y'all, don't worry about it. I mean, I'm not saying worry about it. I'm just saying don't put your head in the sand. Be proactive. Do something. Prepare. Have your mindset. Have an escape route. Have packed bags, right?
Pastor has basically called for executing rebellious black youth. Here it is.
The actual number of blacks who are committing murder is more than whites.
Right.
And whites are significantly greater
60% compared to 13%
percentage of the population. Yeah.
So if you take that, and then you took a law like Deuteronomy 21, which is a just law that God enacted through Moses. The law was that if you had a rebellious son, you have a child they're coming up into their manhood and they're rebellious, they don't listen. He lists some characteristics and even though they're disciplined, they will not turn. He says the fathers to bring them out into the town square. This is a rebellious son, and then they stone him to death. They kill him.
And an armed robber would certainly be one of those.
Oh, absolutely. Armed robber, all the ghetto
violent
culture.
crimes.
Basically, take ghetto culture, it would describe this to a T.
You guys are ridiculous. If you recall, and I'm utilizing the context of the Bible that you just referenced in order to justify murdering a child, let's utilize that same text. Remember the story of the prodigal son? And the prodigal son left lawless living, etc., came back. Well, that was the rebellious son. Christ was talking about the same Old Testament dynamics that you were discussing, except Christ said before, the kingdom of God is thus. You've been told it was this. He was actually contradicting the Old Testament in an ironic way. I'm contradicting you as well. When that son came back, he was not stoned. When that rebellious son came back, he was greeted outside of the city gates by the father and hugged immediately, likely so that nobody would stone him, and brought his son in to his home personally. That is what the Bible actually says, the parable of the prodigal son. You all have hijacked the meaning of it to an antiquated symbolic dynamic that somehow justifies your seemingly murderous thoughts against Black children, and I won't stand for it. You will not hijack my faith, and you will not mislead individuals into believing that somehow that murderous content that you just shared or had will stand without challenge. And I welcome you bozos on the bullpen anytime.
So once again, Christianity does what Christianity does: kill, steal, and destroy. This is their history, right? Now he's threatening to delete young Black men. Now, as I mentioned in one of the previous videos I had, that they had this Rev 2939 woman who says the greatest enemy to those people in the Middle East is young Black people. So it just so happens that now they're talking about, because you know how they do, right? They have to prepare you for what's coming. They have to prepare you for the mass slaughter so that they can have excuses of why they're doing it. Well, they're criminals. They're ghetto, right? Why? Because I told y'all from day one that they want us out of here. But I personally think it all aligns with the prophecies of why we're going to have to flee. But a lot of y'all still don't believe that.
Invitation will remain for the rest of the year. Put them on full mask. Christian nationalist pastor Ryan Suave calls for the rebellious young Black men to be executed by the state. He claims that it's in the Bible. Okay. And I just explained where they were incorrect on the passage. That was Christian nationalist pastor Brian Suave and Eric Kahn. Now,
well, let me say something else about the prodigal son. At the time, if you look at the context, the one who went out there, took his father goods and went out there and had a party and slept around and all that stuff, had to sleep in the pig pen, that's Ephraim. That's the northern tribes. The one who stayed home, who was a good little boy at the time with daddy, that was Judah. But hey, they don't want to talk about that.
Sure, who the hell gave them a microphone to spout this horrific way of thinking. Also, for the record, according to the United States Sentencing Commission, 57%, almost 60% of sexual assault abusers were white. 74.6% of offenders in cases involving production of child inappropriateness by way of video were white. 53.3% of offenders in cases involving travel for prohibited sexual contact were white. And according to the Innocence Project, nearly 60% of the people that the Innocence Project has helped to free and exonerate since 1992 have been black, despite the fact that black people account for only 13.6% of the U.S. population. Once again, gentlemen, I invite you all to come to the bullpen anytime in order to express your sentiment or rebuttal.
So here's the deal. I think it's obvious by now, right, what the plan is. And I told y'all from the very beginning that we were the targets, and now you can see them right there. They're changing the message. Remember before the message was we got to deal with the immigrant problem? Remember that? We got to deal with the immigrant problem. You know, we got to deal with the Venezuelan gangs. We got to deal with all of these Mexican gangs, the cartel. But now slowly. Why? Because they're in black neighborhoods now with military. Now the message is we got to handle black folks. Black folks are criminal by design, by default, right? Those young black men are criminals by default, right? Which is why they're going to throw your kids down to the ground, right? And do whatever they want to do, step on your head and not have any, repercussions. And just wait until he put in the Insurrection Act or start enforcing it. Because, that's just a step away from martial law. Look, they let them get away with what they want already. And they're already looking to kick us out of Congress. They're already looking to kick us out of Congress, take away your voting rights. They already took away most of your jobs. And now we have the, NSPM 7. Sounds like another Inquisition to me. But you have a lot of people hating on this ministry because we tell the truth, but that comes with the territory. But you better watch because they're not preparing you for what's coming. I told you we're going to have to flee. That's like I said, right? If you believe the scriptures, we're going to have to flee. Now, let me ask y'all, yes or no? Or maybe, can you see now where the possibilities that we might have to flee? Can you see yes or no? Or maybe? I think it's a bit obvious at this point, right? Because like I was saying before, if you remove the pillars that allows you to survive in America, which is like Section 8, SNAP benefits, right? All of these type of things, healthcare, you start removing these pillars, how are you going to survive? You fire 300,000 black women, how are you going to survive? You put the military in black cities and black neighborhoods, all dressed up for war. How are you going to survive? Trump renames the Department of Defense to the Department of War, but who is he going to war against? Black folks, black cities. How are you going to survive? I'm just asking. Because I keep hearing people say, I'm not going to flee. I'm not going to have to flee. Yacoba's creating fear. And then they lie, they gaslight you, they throw out stuff about people selling property here, property there, doing this, doing that, which we don't do. But understand, they're gaslighting you. Why? Because the devil wants you looking over here while he's doing something else over there. They want to take your attention off of the threat so that you can be caught unawares. Because see, right now, I'm like, okay, you have a military presence in your city. And that military presence said it's there for black folks. They're kicking out black representation in Congress, removing your power to vote them out, changing the laws, DEI, CRT, all this, but hey, ain't nothing to worry about. Any kind of job that you have now with the government, they're going to say, well, you a DEI hire. We're going to get rid of you. You know how many black folks are unemployed right now? It's all by design. And that's why I say, look, we got to call on the Most High. I mean, we got to call on the Father like we ain't never called on him before. See, the weird thing, and I guess I wouldn't say weird, but the what's the word? The interesting thing is that the Gentiles who hate you so much, the Gentiles who call themselves Christians, the Gentiles who are MAGA supporters who love them some Jesus, the Gentiles who hate them some Negroes, are the very ones who the Most High are going to say, depart from me, I never knew you. Why? Because you didn't persecuted his people. Y'all not the people, because the Jews were olive color. What, green or black? See, it's funny. I be getting these little stragglers come in and they be commenting on the thing and they be like, you wrong, Yacoba. Jesus was white. He was not black. If anything, he was olive colored. What does color have to do with it? Y'all make everything about race. But the thing is, like I said before, my daddy black, my mama black, my brother black, my sister's black, my cousin's black. But I got a problem saying that. So if I'm an Israelite, if I'm an Israelite, if I'm a Yasharal, then that means my mama black, my daddy black, my cousin's black. Well, all of them not black, Yacoba, because of the mixing and blah, 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 blah. You might have a handful that look white. But the majority black. Let's not get it twisted. And the same people that they persecuting happens not only to align with Deuteronomy 28 curses. The same people are also being targeted by the so-called end time beast, the dragon of Revelation 12. Tanks are set up in black neighborhoods. Black power being removed from Congress and our influence, getting, DEI and, civil rights, all that being dismantled. But hey, ain't nothing to see here. Looks like the dragon to me. Look like somebody plotting against a woman called Israel. The devil makes war with the woman because he knows he has a short time and the woman has to flee into the wilderness, but our people say they're not going to flee. I tell you right now that the people who say we're not going to flee are agents. I tell you right now, the people who say we're not going to flee do not believe Torah. I tell you right now, the people who say we not going to flee is your enemy because they're going to lull you to sleep. I don't care if they black. I don't care if they claim to be Israel. They are your enemy. Why? Because they want you to be disarmed. They want you to be caught unawares. They want you to be hit over the head and be like, what happened? I'm an American citizen. You can't do this to me. Whereas when it comes to those who follow this ministry and who know the truth, right? They prepared. At least you're going to know, hey, you're not going to be surprised. At least you're going to have a plan already in place. At least you're going to know that you're going to have to flee this bad boy and get the heck out of Dodge. Whereas the crazy folks going to say, this is my land. My daddy, my mama, my grandpa, they fought for me for the right to vote. They fought for me to be here. This is my land. I'm a Native American Indian. They ain't going to be able to kick me out because I'm going to fight. No, not me. I'm out. Because I'm going to tell you this right now. The choice is going to happen soon. The choice is going to happen soon. The decision that you're going to have to make is going to happen soon. And those who decide to stay will burn with Babylon. Those who decide that your house, your car, and everything is more important than the word of Yahuwah, you're going to burn with it. When you gaslight Tell Ministries, you know you're being an enemy against your own people, because all we have done is warn, prepare, get your house in order, repent, stop lying, stop cheating, stop stealing, stop gaslighting, because guess what? We are under the pressure of trial. We are like the gold in the furnace. We are being purified. And guess what? See, people act like you don't have to go through nothing. Y'all hear that a lot, right? God not gonna allow me to go through nothing. He's gonna save us. He's gonna get us out of here first. I'm gonna be raptured. But yet the Most High says he's gonna purge us as gold or silver tried in the fire. But what you think that means? You think you're not gonna have to feel that flame? How you think the impurities come out of the gold? They got to be heated up. So y'all ain't ready. You ain't count the cost. You've been lied to. And even more so, you Gentiles, right, who think you know it all, who think us Israelites so crazy because you got some camp members who got crazy doctrine, but yet you don't listen to us who are balanced. You gonna get it. I told y'all, many tekel you falsing, Gentiles. Many tekel you falsing. You've been weighed and found wanting, but you ain't got to believe me. Why you Kobe? You say you're not a prophet. No, I ain't no prophet. Don't claim to be a prophet, but guess what? A blind man can see these signs. A blind man can see what's happening. And guess what? Y'all feeling that heat too, right, Gentiles? Why? Because them curses flipping. Them curses coming off of us and going on y'all. But I'm going to tell y'all this. This thing is about to heat up so hot. It's not only going to heat up here, it's going to heat up on the continent. They're going to come after us here, and they're going to come after us on the continent. But the Most High going to set up a standard against them. Mark my words. It's about to get hot. I hope you have your, what's the SPF 40 or whatever the heck. Well, we black, so we don't need it. Mark my words, we ain't got no time. So that's all I got. Look, this whole prophetic scenario you seeing is a counterfeit. It's a false Armageddon. It's a false Ezekiel 38. It's all a fraud. And those who don't know the Torah are going to be caught up in it. And I'm going to tell you this. Everybody going to be surprised when they find out not only are we the true people, but the true belief system. Christians think they know. Like I say, I'm not saying Christians aren't saved, because there's Christians who believe in Yahushua and obey with the knowledge that they have, and they obey the 10. I'm not saying they ain't saved. But I'm saying this, the majority of the people, the majority of the Gentiles, they ain't gonna never hear us because they can't. They ain't gonna never believe us because they can't. Why? Because the truth is coming out of the mouth of black folks. The truth is coming out of the mouth of the slaves. The truth is coming out of the mouth of those who don't have nothing. The truth is coming out of the mouth of those who are last and not first, but who's about to be first. They can't hear us. Why? Because they believe there's nothing that a black man says has any value. But guess what? That's where the value is. Why? Because the Most High told us to be a light to the nations. But guess what? They don't want to hear. And they're going to be caught up in their own plans and the plans of their people just like them. The Christians, how can you even think you're a Christian when you are against the family? Or let's say a follower of Yahushua, let's say that, who you call Jesus. How could you say you a believer of the Torah and the Messiah of the Torah, and you don't mind them taking away the rights of individuals, and they separate mommies and daddies from each other for immigrants. Sort of like that pan-mulattism guy, right? Who would turn in Israel because they're Haitians. How can you call yourself a believer and go against people who trying to make a living, who trying to take care of their family, who trying to live righteous and holy, and you're going to turn against them? Why? Because you don't have no love. The Bible says you're going to know them by their fruits. I could spot you, pan-mulattism. You don't have no good fruit. I could spot you, a lot of you Gentiles. Y'all don't have no good fruit. Just like that pastor. What did he say? He says that all black kids, young black men do is bad, and we got to exterminate them. That's what he was saying, paraphrasing. He had to go through Deuteronomy 21 to try to make his case. I'm about to kick O'Shea Duke Jackson out of Uganda. He took it. Oh yeah, kick him out. I mean, raccoons gonna be raccoons, right? But that's all I got, fam. So look, I don't think we have a lot of time. I've been saying that, and it's just moving so fast. So be ready. Make sure you're right with the Most High. And if you never supported us, please support us. You can like, share, subscribe. You can also Cash App, $TOTW7101. You can also go to tailministries.com, click on the donations tab. You can also buy my brother's book. They always knew we were Israelites, and you can buy my book, True Jerusalem, the Lost Kingdoms of the Israelites. So, fam, that's all I got. Share it so people don't be deceived by the fake Armageddon and the fake end time prophecies that they're playing. So, peace out. Well, family, the wait is over. The moment has arrived where truth emerges triumphant from the shadows of history. Introducing the True Jerusalem, the Lost Kingdoms of the Israelites, the groundbreaking work by me, Jacoby Vale, a journey into the past that reshapes the future. I cut through centuries of misconceptions with piercing clarity. This book delivers a compelling case packed with evidence that commands attention and gonna get some respect. Come with me for a second, family, and discover how these thrilling civilizations flourished, protected by towering highlands and sustained by advanced engineering. Some have asked, where is Jerusalem? Is it the land in the Middle East? I say no. It is in the highlands of Ethiopia. With hours of groundbreaking research, this book brings in a new revelation, and it will transform your understanding of African history and its connections to the ancient world. It's going to remove from your mind the conditioning by the Romans of what has really happened to our past. Come with me, family, to the Ethiopian highlands and find out why this is our land. Why things have been hidden and obfuscated for centuries. We are royalty, children of the Most High. What kind of land do you expect us to have? Dried up dirt in the Middle East, or land flowing with rivers? A land full of beautiful animals flowing with milk and honey. Don't miss out on this monumental unveiling. Grab your copy today and stand on the side of truth. Visit Amazon.com or www.tailministries.com to purchase your book and join Jacoby Vale's teachings on Tail Ministries. Family, your journey to hidden history has now begun. So family, get your copy of True Jerusalem, the Lost Kingdoms of the Israelites today. Journey to the heart of Africa, where history and legend converge to reveal the forgotten kingdoms of the Israelites and the true location of Jerusalem.